Our chief White House correspondent, Major Garrett, is at the White House. Well, Major, as you've pointed out, this takes one phone call. Why is this information important, first of all? And what are we to infer from the White House's response here?
Well, these are excellent questions, Elaine, and I know maybe some in our audience have a hard time trying to understand what is important and why these questions would be asked and why they need to be answered. And the White House wants to say, why are you guys so obsessed with the process here? Why don't you care about what Chairman Nunes said, which is it's possible that some Trump transition officials were inadvertently caught up in surveillance during the transition? That's the big headline. Well, we have faithfully reported that. What we're trying to learn more about is what's the source of that information? What does it actually mean? What is this incidental collection of information about Trump transition officials suggest or not suggest about what they were doing during the transition? And part of that process is to learn why it was that a House Oversight Committee chairman came to the White House to obtain this classified information. How did he gain access? Because the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, whether that chairman is a Republican or a Democrat, is a duly commissioned representative of Congress with institutional responsibilities to Congress. And there are secure facilities on Capitol Hill to review all classified information. So the questions are these: why would a chairman representing Congress come to the White House, gain access to a White House secure facility, meet with somebody we only know works for the executive branch to review classified information that then helps buttress a line of explanation that comes from that very same White House? Democrats and even some Republicans wonder also why that information hasn't been shared with the Intelligence Committee itself. So these process questions may seem like they're so deep in the weeds and barely relevant, but they go to some sets of questions about motives. Why did the chairman of this committee, who, remember, Devin Nunes, California Republican, served as a senior member of the Trump transition? Why did he come here to the White House to gain this information? Who let him in and who gave him access to a secure facility? All of which could have been done on Capitol Hill. And if it had been done there, would have at least created the public impression of an arm's length relationship to this source of information and its potential value to the White House. That's why we're asking these questions. And to be even more basic and simple about it, Elaine, the press secretary, when faced with these questions on Monday, said he would look into it and provide to the White House press corps direct answers. And when he does that, you know who he answers to? The American public. Well, given 3 days to do that, this press secretary still has no answers, when everyone here knows those answers are easily obtainable.
And Major, you touched on this, but what does the lack of answers then do to the skepticism that Democrats have already expressed about the impartiality of Congressman Nunes?
Well, it deepens the sense of wonder. And let us just put it in that context journalistically. Democrats can say whatever they want from a partisan point of view. That's their business. They're members of the committee, or they're just Democrats in the House. They can make whatever charges or level whatever accusations they want at Chairman Nunes. I'm not in the business of doing that. I don't know what all of the motives are. I'm not here to question motives. All I'm saying is, from an institutional and checks and balances power perspective, it is highly unusual for an oversight chairman representing Congress to come to the White House, be given special access by the White House, meet with an executive branch official, not disclose any of those details, and then provide information that he says backs up a White House line of talking points about this Russian investigation, one that he is the chairman of, representing the entire House of Representatives. So if nothing else, it creates a set of questions, and the refusal or the reluctance of the White House to engage in those questions and provide answers leaves it all very opaque. And for an investigation that has to have public credibility, at least some element of bipartisan support, that makes both of those things, public credibility and bipartisan support, all the more difficult to achieve.
And lastly, Major, I'm just wondering, I know the on-camera briefing is really only one dimension of the reporting that you and Margaret and others do there every single day. I wonder, behind the scenes, privately, has there been an attempt on the part of this White House to attempt to clarify what happened with Congressman Nunes?
No, there has not. And the only thing I can think of as a possible motivation on this is to create more and more interest and then have at some point Chairman Nunes disclose all this in a way that gains a lot of headlines and to either his belief or possibly this White House's belief create a kind of "see, we told you so" moment about this incidental collection of data about Trump transition officials, in some way reinforcing what the president was driving at when he erroneously and baselessly said President Obama had Trump Tower wiretapped. They may have this moment of disclosure that suggests that there was something going on that was of a surveillance type nature about the Trump transition that might raise eyebrows and have some political effect as to questioning what the motives not of Chairman Nunes was, but what were the motives of the sitting Obama administration during the Trump transition. I have no idea if that's going to happen. Chairman Nunes has only hinted in a very mild way, and by mild I mean without very many details, that this might be something that he could disclose. But until that moment comes, if it ever comes, we have a very hard time figuring out what the reluctance is to discuss these basic facts and why the White House wants to keep such a non-transparent attitude about that which it did. Because you can't gain access to this White House compound or secure facilities to review classified information without the White House's approval and foreknowledge. It gave the approval, it had the knowledge in advance, and has told the public nothing about that, leaving all of this subject not just to wonder, but a sense of partisan grievance, at least among Democrats.
All right, Major Garrett at the White House. Major, thanks.
Sure.